Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. I'm going to react to this show. Let's watch this show.
I mean, Rose, what did you see in my dad? I mean, did you really love him? Because he really did love you, because he was willing to give me up.
Yes, I really love your dad. I really
don't get a tone with me, please. I'm just asking you a general question. Did you have true feelings for him?
Yes, of course, yes.
Because to be honest, from what I've seen, it didn't really seem like it.
So it makes sense that Tiffany, the daughter, would be on her father's side as she watched the show. I'm guessing that's what she's referring to. And that through her viewing, it didn't seem like Rose's feelings were genuine. From my point of view, since I'm not related to anyone, but I probably have my own lens. I don't know. Maybe I'm partial to Asians. I don't know, because I'm Asian. Is that I thought both their love was genuine. I really did. The thing is that in order for Rose's love not to be genuine, she would have to be a very good actor. When she was hurt by Ed, she was really hurt. Now, you can watch other couples on this show that I actually don't go into that much because I don't really see the point. You can tell that some of the other people are not really in love, even though they're saying they are. Rose really seemed like she was emotionally invested. Now, maybe she's an excellent actor. There's really no way to tell, but she seemed genuine to me. But again, it makes sense that Tiffany would be on her father's side and would be biased in that way. You would want your daughter to be biased towards you if you were the father.
He wasn't really a good person to her.
But what about all the secrets? I'm confused. I get that he wasn't fully honest about his physique and maybe his height, which I'm not quite sure how you can hide that considering you guys would video chat and Skype. But you hid so much, like just simple things that you should be honest about as far as past relationships, especially when you're wanting him to have your son call him daddy.
Ma'am, baliktad kami, ma'am eh. Sa umpisa pa lang, ma'am, sinabi ko na sa kanya lahat. Yan, lagi ko pa ulit-ulit ko pinapalawanan kahit hirap na ako mag-English, ma'am, na intindi niya sinasabi.
Wow. So Tiffany, I'm guessing she watched the same show that we did. For her, the only thing that Ed did wrong was he lied about his height. And she was very deceptive about her past. She was like, don't worry about my past. Yeah, I have a past, but let's not talk about that because you're just going to get more jealous and upset. And plus, what's it to you that I have a past?
But what about all the secrets? I'm confused. I get that he wasn't fully honest about his physique and maybe his height, which I'm not quite sure how you can hide that considering you guys would video chat and Skype. But you hid so much. Like,
what about him lying by omission to her, Rose, that he didn't want to have kids? Now, I feel terrible for Rose because she's trying to speak in a different language. It's hard to know how much she's picking up from what people are saying. She's being attacked by the daughter, someone that she's never met before. I don't know how good Rose is under pressure in a situation like this. And she seems to be kind of bubbling over with a lot of emotion and saying a lot of things that it's hard for us to understand what we're saying. And that makes me sad for her situation right now.
Ma'am, baliktad kami, ma'am eh. Sa umpisa pa lang, ma'am, sinabi ko na sa kanya lahat. Yan, lagi ko pa ulit-ulit ko pinapalawanan kahit hirap na ako mag-English, ma'am, na intindi niya sinasabi niya. May ibo pala siya sa akin. Pakailan sa past mo. Ikaw, ang akin lang, kung ano tayo meron ngayon.
If you didn't catch that, she's saying, I don't care about our past. For me, it's about what we have right now. And she's saying, yeah, he really was grilling me about my past. And I knew better than to tell him about it because I knew it would make him even more jealous and more upset. And I didn't want to lose him. So I didn't want to talk about the past. Now, as I always say, I have no idea. Maybe Rose is a terrible person. But the show did show us very clear arguments between Rose and Ed, in which Ed was very focused on accusing her of things and making her feel bad about herself. And then Rose would explode with hurt and upset and run away. And then he would chase her and say, I'm sorry. You were right. I was wrong. You were right. I was wrong. That's what we saw.
So Ed, what is this sex video that Rose is talking about?
Rose was saying that during one call, Ed was asking, why are you always sad? And Rose was saying, well, we have a lot of problems here. And so Ed said, well, get naked now and I will pay you. Get naked in front of me, do it now, and I will send you money.
Via social media, people were really taking issue with the fact that you wanted Rose to take the STD test.
So as I said back then, if I remember right, it's okay to ask your partner to get an STD test and for you to get an STD test, STI test. It's actually responsible. Before we exchange fluids, let's both get an STI test. Let's swap results so that we know what's going on with each other. That's very responsible. There's nothing wrong with that. But what Ed was doing was he was using the STD test as a proxy for his jealousy, for his worry that she had been with a lot of other guys. And that was, so there's several different proxies. The STD test was a proxy for wanting to know how many guys she's been with. And that was a proxy for learning how likely she is to leave him. And that's a proxy for whether or not he's going to be alone. I think that deep down, Ed doesn't want to be alone, as most people don't. But he has this very circuitous way of trying to establish attachment security, i.e. this STD test. And I think he gets a little mixed up in his head. If I can get her to take the STD test and I can establish she doesn't have any STDs, then I'll know she's a clean, pure person who won't cheat on me, and then I'll feel more secure in myself. But of course, that doesn't make any sense, because you can be a terrible partner and not have any STDs. You can also have STDs and be a wonderful partner. Those things are independent of each other. So that was my conceptualization of why he was doing this, because he exhibited a lot of behavior that pointed to worry about losing her and worry about other men, younger men, taking her away from him.
If you have like sexually transmitted disease. Last night when I noticed that your legs were kind of like mine, they were hairy.
What?
So this is mouthwash?
As they're showing these clips back to back, there's another hypothesis here. Total speculation, because there's no way to know without actually talking to Ed's previous partners and maybe future partners. There are people, and men are more likely to be this way, but women can be this way too, where they engage in high control of their partners that it actually involves grooming them. And there's sort of a classic example of where men will try to dress their wives up, or they will try to get their wives to get plastic surgery in a lot of different ways. And they'll use all this emotional pressure to make the other person look a certain way because it reflects on them. It's sort of a narcissism by proxy. It's like, if my wife looks perfect and smells perfect and is wonderful in all these different ways, she doesn't have STDs, she's pure, she's young, she's beautiful, good breath, no hair on her legs, then I, by proxy, am elevated because I feel very low and I need these external people to validate me on the outside. There is a condition that a lot of people, not a lot, but occasional people will suffer from, and it'll look like a domestic violence relationship, high control, and it can get that way for sure. So I wonder if that's also going on with Ed. Total speculation. There's no idea for me to know.
And I got you a cute toothbrush. This your breath is not pretty. I love you. I love you.
Pangit mo.
I love you.
Pangit mo.
Does that
I was also told that phrase in Filipino and Tagalog, the "you're ugly," is not as harsh as it is translated. When I first saw that, I was like, whoa, she was being really hostile to him, which I get, she's hurt, but that was really hostile. People have told me that phrase is translated into something softer, like "go away" or "you're a jerk face," something a little bit more playful and not something that's really as it is translated. I wish that the subtitles, they would have said something else. You know, direct translations sometimes aren't direct translations of meaning, if you will. Anyway.
And Tiffany and I had a conversation, and Tiffany's like, Dad,
Yeah.
why in the hell didn't you get a test and walk down and when you got in the middle sat down with Rose and said, Rose, look, I just took a test. I'm clean. Will you take a test? I screwed that up. I screwed it up. I take responsibility for that. Was I wrong to ask her to do that? No, because she was hiding her past. So I had a right to ask. Okay. But the way I did.
So he just said it. So right there, he said it. She was hiding her past. What about her past was she hiding? She was hiding it because it's impolite to ask people when you're first starting to date them, tell me about everyone you've had sex with. It's accusatory, it's hostile, it's invasive, it's none of your business. You can certainly share with each other about that sort of thing, but Rose just wanted to be private about that maybe, or she detected wisely that that wasn't really what was happening in that moment. He wasn't really trying to just find out about her past in a curious manner. He was trying to find things to latch onto so that he could say, oh, you're not pure and you're gross. And, you know, I don't want to be with you because you've been with 5 men before me or something like that. So that really tells us a lot about the way he thinks, a lot about what the confusion and the defenses are mixing things up in his mind. This is what he said. Let's listen back to that. But he said she refused to take the STD test because she was trying to hide her past.
Was I wrong to ask her to do that? No, because she was hiding her past. So I had a right to ask. Okay.
When you were asking Rose to shave her legs, why did you do that?
I live in Southern California. Women in California, they laser their legs. So it was something that I wasn't familiar with, but I apologize. I apologize.
I did give him a hard time.
But it did weird me out. I'm going to be totally honest. It was weird. It was weird for me, and I wasn't used to it. But I apologize if I hurt you.
So it's hard to know what's going on for Rose right now. I wonder if all of those bad moments are flooding back to her. All those moments where he had hurt her feelings. And also just the grieving of their relationship. If I'm reading the situation right, Rose really did love Ed and really was looking forward to marrying him and moving to the States and bringing her son with him and having a new life and having more kids, having stability. And then when he came, he just repeatedly hurt her feelings, and you just wonder if all that is coming back for her right now. Rose is actually exhibiting behavior that people don't usually exhibit in these tell-alls. There's a certain bravado that a lot of people bring to these tell-alls. It's like, well, I wasn't like that. You were trying to get with me and, screw you. And, a lot of hostility. And Rose is actually exhibiting at first I'm like, whoa, what's going on with Rose? Is she like freaking out or something? But when I think about it, it's like, no, a lot of these people have been through a lot of horrible, horrible moments, horrible, hurtful moments. And to cry when you're on the tell-all is the most rational thing to do. It's just to be like, this was shitty and it's sad and I don't know what to do. And I'm remembering all of it and he's doing it to me again and this is just so sad. If anyone, Rose is the most normal human one here in my book. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but that's how I'm choosing to look at it.
For asking you to do that. That was not my intention. I wanted you to love me. I didn't want to make you mad.
I can accept your apology. Why? Why? Because you always hurt me and you embarrass me. You up and come, you embarrass me. I accept you are always embarrass me because I love you, but you're always a liar.
Amen, Rose. Amen.
I was not trying to make myself look good and make you look bad. Through my own natural dumb ability, I made a fool out of myself. And I apologize that it didn't work out. And I still love you. I'll always love you. And I'll always love Prince. My intention wasn't to hurt you.
I believe Ed. I 100% believe Ed. That his intention was not to hurt her. It's rarely people's intentions to hurt anyone, really. But I think that proxy confusion is what led him to hurt her. And it's great that he's apologizing. Amen to Ed right now for just being, I am sorry. I screwed up. I shouldn't have said those things. And I talked to my daughter and she set me straight. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. So that's good. I wish that Ed could say, I was also lying by omission about having a kid. I was also really weirdly jealous about your past, and I shouldn't have done that as well. I wish he would go into that because I think those are more fundamental to their relationship.
I'm having some flashbacks of, similar situations that I've dealt with in the past with my relationships. Right now, I'm really feeling what Rose is going through. Big Ed, I understand what you're trying to say, but it's not coming across right. She's a queen in my eyes, and I will pass this barrette to you, darling. You are a queen. And stand strong.
Thank you. Thank you.
You loved her, then, embrace her as a woman.
Look, I have trust issues. She wasn't being honest with me. I had the right to ask.
It's so weird to see these couples cross-talking with each other. Now we got David involved. But then Ed said something very interesting. He said, I have trust issues. Very telling right there. And she was hiding her past. Let's listen to that phrase again.
I know, but look, I have trust issues. She wasn't being honest with me. I had the right to ask.
I had trust issues. She wasn't being honest with me. I had the right to ask. There's a lot packed in there. What we were presented on the show was he never said he had trust issues. He exhibited trust issues. That was my hypothesis, so we can check that one off as confirmed by him. She was lying to me. She was hiding her past from you. No, she wasn't. She detected hostility from you and said, I love you. You're the only one. I've only been with you. I've never lied to you. Yes, I have a past. I have a son, so I have a past. I don't want to talk about it. Let's move forward. I'm all about let's live in the now. Let's move forward. Because I'm guessing if I talk about, plus maybe in her town and her culture, for a woman to reveal her one night stands here and there would be very difficult to admit. I don't know. Just taking a guess. And so she wasn't hiding her past. And plus, what would it mean if she was hiding her past? Like, I think I said this during that episode when they were outside that restaurant and he was badgering her and she was very upset. What if she said, okay, Ed, I'll tell you everything. I've had sex with 55 dudes. And, the first one did this to me. The second one did this to me. The other, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything, Ed. Or if she said, you know what, I had sex one time and it was my insemination of Prince, and so there you go. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Hiding her past or not talking about it doesn't mean anything. But he did say he has trust issues. So I wish he would stay in that space. I have trust issues, and it makes me paranoid that I'm going to lose someone, that someone's going to cheat on me and leave me, that other men are going to take my woman away from me. And I have this urge to, I just want to believe that you've never been with anyone and you only want to be with me. And if there's any other men waiting in the wings, it really threatens me. Actually, I think maybe I hypothesized another time, maybe Ed feels very unattractive. Maybe he feels like he is ugly and too short and too whatever. And he feels like any man could just come in and sweep his woman away from him. And any other man involved is a threat. I've definitely seen that before. But he doesn't have insight into it. And that's the issue here, is that if my hypothesis is right, which I have no way of knowing, Ed doesn't exhibit any insight into connecting his paranoia about her past with his trust issues.
Look, I have trust issues. She wasn't being honest with me. I had the right to ask, and she wasn't being honest.
So I keep watching this clip. I had the right to ask. That's another telling statement. Do you, Ed? Do you have the right to ask? Do you have the right to ask and demand? You have the right to ask. Everyone has the right to ask. But I think what he's saying is, I have the right to demand this information. I have the right to demand that Rose tell me everything about her past. I want her to tell me who she's had sex with. That's what he was talking about. You don't have that right, Ed. No one has that right. So it makes sense that you would want to know because of the proxy things that you've erroneously shoved together of you know, that if she had very little sex in the past and that means there's less of a threat, makes sense that you would make that confusion, but you don't have the right to demand information from her in that way.
Honest with her, 100%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I lied about my height. 3 inches on my height. Okay, whatever.
And why didn't you tell her before you even went there that you didn't want kids? You knew she wanted that. Like, doesn't add up.
I'll tell you what. That was hindsight's wrong. I didn't want kids. Raising kids in America, as you know, you have 2 beautiful daughters. They're expensive. They cost money. I
think the problem was you were worried about the money, not her.
Okay, you know what? Hey, don't point your finger at me. Hey.
So Darcy started out awesome. She asked a pretty good question that I would want to ask Ed too. What about you lying by omission? And she was, seeing that very clearly. And then he says, you know how expensive kids are. That doesn't address the question, Ed. That has nothing to do with the fact that you lied by omission and led her to believe that you were willing to have more kids. So it's that confusion there, that disconnect. What defenses are going on in his mind? So to him, it sounds right. To him, that sounds totally rational. Well, the reason why I didn't say anything is because it's expensive to have kids in America. We all know that. End of story. And it makes sense to him. But anyone watching, it's like, those are 2 disjointed things. They don't make any sense. Why would someone have a weird way of thinking? Defenses. Why would someone have defenses that would play into that? It's kind of weird, right? It's hard for me to know, but if I was to take a stab in the dark, I would say that he did not want to tell her about not wanting to have kids because he didn't want to lose her. And he suspected, rightfully so, that if he said while they were Skyping, I don't want to have kids later, she was going to be like, oh, well, then this is over. I'm going to have to date someone else. This is sad, but this is over. And he didn't want to lose her. And he has defenses in his mind that either says something like, well, just push past that.
Do you feel as though, like, throughout your life, you've had a problem with relaying information correctly?
Of course I have. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I wasn't thinking.
So I wonder if Avery is like, you're kind of like Ash. You have trouble relaying information correctly. And the way I would phrase it is terror of losing someone leading to saying what you think other people want to hear. I have dealt with this in my personal life. I don't do this, honestly, but I've had other people do this to me. I suppose I must have done it. Everyone has done this in their life, but not to the pathological level. I have friends and people close to me who will do this occasionally. Not my wife. She would never do this. She's the opposite of this. But I do know people close to me who will say what they think I want to hear, and then later on, it's clear that they were lying to me. And then they blame me for it. I know what that feels like, to have someone deceive you, and then later on you're like, wait, so that whole time you were lying to me. No, I wasn't lying. It's, and you're just like, oh, it's happening right now. People call this gaslighting right now. I don't know if I like that term. It's usually because the liar person is such a people pleaser, and they became a people pleaser because of trauma and abandonment or mistreatment of some kind, and they felt like they had to please everyone in order to get their needs met. And so whenever there's any hint of disapproval from another person, they just say whatever they think the other person needs to hear. Ash might have some of that. I think that maybe Ed might have some of that. And if you come from a culture where it privileges you and you get away with things, then maybe you don't ever get called out on that. Who knows? Anyway, let's continue watching.
For you to say the that you said to that woman, no American woman would ever put up with
it. So Lisa is telling Ed that he said mean things to his partner. Okay.
Trust me, no American woman would. You've got your own throat with the American women.
Hey, baby girl, can I ask you a question? Why were you spreading such a negative message saying that you're going to have unprotected sex with somebody that you had never met before?
You want to go there, Ed? Let's go there.
What kind of message are you sending?
Let me tell you something. We both were tested for STDs before I even left the United States, okay?
That showed poor judgment on your part. You sent a very negative message, okay?
But that's okay, Ed, because at least I went and got tested. You ran your mouth and made Rose look like an ass about doing an STD test.
So now they're just bickering at each other, I guess. It's just interesting to see these different worlds colliding on the tell-all.
I'm going to interrupt. I've got to interrupt. Sorry, Ed. What was it like, Ed, taking a shower with your future father-in-law?
Well, first of all, that's a secret.
So, Rose, is there anything that you still love about Ed?
I don't like nothing. No, I don't want any connection to Ed.
It didn't work out, and I'm sorry. I wish Rose the best that life has to offer. I don't want her to be sad or miserable. It just didn't work out. I'm sorry, it didn't work out. But my feelings were sincere.
Okay. No harm, no foul. Didn't work out. My feelings were sincere. Hopefully they just put a period at the end of that. They move on with their lives, and they're not going to argue anymore on this show.
It's so sad to see that it has come to this, but I appreciate you joining me and talking about what happened during your relationship.
All right. Well, that does it for another episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which we watched 90 Day Fiancé. Tune in next time when we continue watching.